This is the Redmi 14C with a massive 5160 mAh battery. Is it any good? I'm not gonna lie, the 13C looked so much better. Redmi probably missed the mark with this design. Or maybe not. If I did not know any better, I would have said Redmi and Tecno are exchanging notes because look at this phone. It is basically the same as the Spark 30C Tecno recently released, even down to specifications, except that notch. Now, did they copy each other? Who knows? But it's all the better for the consumers because you now get more options at competitive pricing. The majority of consumers are in the budget segment, which is becoming interestingly competitive. Even Samsung is launching the A06 like 4 months early. But enough of the backstory, the Redmi 14C. Not a bad job Redmi has done here, but after my unboxing video, I observed mixed reactions. Some people saying it's a downgrade, others saying it looks terrible. I can tell you for a fact that this is not a downgrade, but I can't call it a proper upgrade either. I'm sure Redmi was definitely not expecting you to upgrade from the 13C to this one. As for how it looks, I think I chose the wrong color. The blue one looks so much better. They all have glossy rare finish except for the green one with leather. Mine is the dreamy purple. Doesn't look bad though. Xiaomi did something different this time for the unboxing experience. They added a case. Who knows, maybe next time they'll add wired earphones. You might have noticed it says 18 watts charging on the spec sheet, but it comes with a 33 watts charging brick. I'm not sure why, because from my test, this phone supports no more than 18 watts, but we'll take the charger. Thank you, Xiaomi. The Redmi 14C costs less than $100, even for the 6GB version, so it's an affordable phone. In Naira, it's about 134k for the base version. There are 3 RAM options, that is 4, 6 or 8GB, and you're either getting 128 or 256GB in storage. Only the 8GB version gets 256GB in storage. As always, I'll recommend going for at least the 6GB version if you want something that will give you decent multitasking experience. Bear in mind this is a budget phone, even entry level, so you want to manage your expectations on its overall performance. You're not getting an IR blaster nor stereo speakers. As for how this compares to its predecessor specs wise, it has higher refresh rate, improved selfie camera, and slightly bigger battery. I have some thoughts about 120Hz refresh rate on a device like this, but let's first talk about the elephant in the room, MediaTek Helio G81 Ultra. It is a new generation of MediaTek G80 series chipset, and it really is not an upgrade to the G85 we had on the 13C. The only noticeable advantage this offers, I believe, is the support for 120Hz refresh rate, but the G85 is like 4 years old, so maybe this is a much needed refresh. As for the high refresh rates, 120Hz on a budget phone is not bad at all, but I feel it's unnecessary. Because being that we have a 720p display here, there is barely any use case that takes advantage of 120Hz on a 720p display. From operating the device, I could only observe it hit 120Hz in the settings app and the lock screen. Everywhere else, it's either 60 or 90. I would have recommended setting it to 90Hz to save battery, but the options available is either setting it to automatically choose or setting it to custom, which allows you to choose between 60 and up to 120Hz, which actually behaves like the automatic option because it is not forcing 120Hz but actually jumping between 60, 90 and 120. But hey, the numbers sway the consumer's decision eventually, so yay 120Hz on an entry-level phone. Even the regular iPhones can boast of 90Hz. Elsewhere on the display specifications, Redmi still maintains this drop notch, which is not exactly U-notch because I can argue that the one on the 13C looks better. I think only Xiaomi and Samsung is clinging to this U-notch design for their budget phones. It's a good looking LCD display on a budget phone, there is no complaints on its quality. The auto brightness though does not work well, so you either want to turn that off or adjust it as needed whenever. It randomly goes all the way down when you're using certain applications. On the software, we have Xiaomi's HyperOS and Android 14. This is no complete version of HyperOS, and that is expected. You can tell from the control panel. It has been stripped down to a version that is fit for a device at this level. There is no pop-up multitasking, you get fewer options for the lock screen customizations, no sidebar, no split screen. As I said, stripped down. Also, there is no second space option, but the good news is that you get the Android default multi-user feature. That's a good alternative to second space. Although if it can handle this, it probably could have handled second space. But let's not forget, it's a low budget phone. Features like that will no doubt tax the processor and affect performance. HyperOS is a nice UI, but it remains plagued by bloatware and ads, aggressive ads that you need to tweak around a bit to completely get rid of. I'm not talking about just disabling notification access, I'm talking unskippable video ads when doing something as basic as changing your wallpaper. I mean, why? Now, I don't think there are any manufacturers serving ads this aggressive on their budget phones, not even Itel. Now, these are expected compromises for entry-level phones. They have to make money somehow if they are to offer value, but I think they can tone it down a bit. That aside, it works just fine for a budget or entry-level phone. Only once I have experienced a bug, and that was the TikTok app crashing. Multiple attempts to relaunch the app failed. I did not experience this a second time, so it could have just been the app. As you install more apps on this, you might notice it start to respond slower on the software. The Redmi 14C is not a phone you buy because you want to game on it. I'm sure you already know that based on what it costs. But should you need to, it will handle some gaming on recommended low graphics settings. You can't get flawless gameplay, but your titles like CODM, Warzone and PUBG Mobile are playable. Do not bother about Warzone if you are getting the 4GB version. Even with the 8GB version, I won't recommend it, but it's playable. You can play PUBG Mobile at HD graphics and high frame rate. It allows ultra frame rate with the graphics set to smooth. Call of Duty Mobile can be played at medium graphics and high frame rates. As I said, it handles these games just fine as long as you keep your expectations reasonable for a budget phone. Simply put, expect some lags. The battery life is one area they made some improvements. 5160 mAh is big enough to last you a day and a half as an average user. There are no abnormal battery drains in my experience. The cameras of the 14C got some improvements. There's still only one useful one at the back, that is the main camera with 50 megapixels. The selfie camera is now 13 megapixels. The 13C I think got 8 megapixels. The photos are good in the right lighting conditions. Not consistent, but with a few shots you will get results that satisfy you. It actually performed better than I expected from a phone at this price point. There is no HDR processing on the selfie camera, but the results are good, especially with the portraits. Budget phones are not the best at video, but the Redmi 14C has enough to give you decent video in the right lighting. Just manage your expectations. 1080p 30fps is the max it can do. The 14C is a decent device from Redmi. As an entry-level phone, you'll be getting your money's worth. However, they should tone down on the ads and maybe add a few more software features. The competition offers split-screen multitasking even at this price point. If you are getting this, I also recommend going for the 6 or 8GB version. Only get the 4GB if you be doing the bare minimum with the phone. You should check out my review of the Redmi 13. That's all from me.